Hello my dear students, here is again your computer Wunsan. For me as a teacher, Dungeons & Dragons is a great experience. You can go on adventures, play your own characters or defeat huge monsters together with other people. Where you normally trudge through life by doing homeworks, working together for some projects and finishing it with a bigger paper, in D&D you can experience real fantasy with the stories that you play together with the people at the table. And this is the case for every single tabletop play you can imagine. No matter if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons or something different like Pathfinder or Starfinder or something special for yourself. But no matter what pen and paper you play, many games make you have a better life for yourself. Because all of these games improve your mental health, help you getting a little bit better, and are in fact able to improve your abilities. And this is exactly the reason for this video. Here are 10 reasons why you should play D&D at school. Dungeons & Dragons is a game that allows you to be creative. It is a game about applied creativity, where you can be what character you want and what way you are going to go. Dungeons & Dragons is a fantasy game, but not as fantasy in medieval sense. It is a fantasy game because it allows you to fulfill any fantasy you have in your head. Whether you want to be the giant fighter or the mighty sorcerer. This all is possible by playing Dungeons & Dragons. Especially as a player, you have the possibility to create your own character with their powers, their flaws, and their own backstory. For instance, you can create a character who lives for the vengeance for the death of his father. Or maybe you can create a character who believes in the good in the world. All of them are possible to some degree. And another great advantage for the players is that they can learn about problem-solving strategies. So if there is something big or something impossible to mount, how could they get over it? How could they get rid of this riddle? Or how is it possible that they can solve something? All of this is possible as a player, but on the other hand for the Dungeon Master it's also a path of creativity. They can create and experience their own story and improve on it by playing with the players. Dungeons & Dragons is a cooperative game. As the player and the Dungeon Master, you need to create a story. And for the Dungeon Master especially, you learn to improvise and learn how to deal with rules in a very specific world. You as the Dungeon Master create these rules. You can choose what rules you want to incorporate. So it's a task of selecting the correct one or the wrong one for your own party. All of these skills require a huge amount of creativity. But not only creativity will be learned, it's also about learning some subjects, learning about some themes, learning about something more in this world. Dungeons & Dragons is a great tool in interdisciplinary learning. It allows you to use the things you have learned beforehand and create a world where all of this knowledge is in fact relevant only by using the imagination of the players. The most obvious example is, for instance, the history classes, where they can learn about the Middle Ages, about the life there, about the possible workers, about something they can experience there, maybe about the castles, or maybe something more about the royal systems. You can choose, in fact, what part of history you want to teach by using Dungeons & Dragons, with players as active participants. However, you are not restricted in only teaching history. You also can use it for languages, especially for foreign languages. As a teacher, for instance, you are making your own session in German or in French or in Spanish or in any other foreign language you are using. You can use Dungeons & Dragons as a tool to make them play language, which is very neat. Also, they give the possibility to read some books. Dungeons & Dragons consists of a plethora of different books, like the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and so on and so forth. And all of these books motivate the students to improve on their own characters. On another path, you can learn about Dungeons and Dragons in mathematics. How do dice rolls work? What about probability? How high is the probability that I win, that I lose? Or you can go even deeper in mathematics and incorporate some riddles which the students have to solve. In fact, you can incorporate every single subject in a puzzle. For instance, there is an acid pool the party has to go through to get further into the dungeon and to get the treasures. The students can try to use their knowledge of chemistry and find some basis to make sure that they get through there. So as you can see, you work with history, languages, with riddles, with mathematics, and so much more in fact. Only by playing this game, and you can improve on it for yourself. This is a great example of interdisciplinary learning. So interdisciplinary learning is one great aspect, but it sounds like it's only restricted for the knowledge in school. However, this isn't the case. Dungeons and Dragons offers a plethora of skills you can use outside of school too. If you want to play Dungeons and Dragons, one of the great challenges is in fact the time management. There is a meme in fact that the biggest monster isn't the Tarrasque or the dragon or something like this. It's in fact a problem with the time schedule of all players. Dungeons and Dragons offers the possibility to learn about this, to use it, to work with it, and maybe to find solutions in your time management problems. This also means that the students have to talk to each other if you want to play. Talking to each other is in fact a life skill, where I think that it is good if the students know that they can talk about everything and that they can trust each other. And in fact, this also leads to the third point by using a regular table. You have now a so-called, in German we say Stammtisch. This is a table where all friends meet each other once per week and try to play Dungeons and Dragons. This is also something where there is a little bit of a consistency for the students, and this consistency improves the students in planning forward. However, some things are just not able to plan. If you have a test, for instance, you definitely can learn about everything, but unless you know all of the questions, you are always surprised more or less. Dungeons and Dragons goes the similar path, where you have the possibility to learn about problem solving. How can you answer the question? How can you get rid of this riddle? Or how can you fight these monsters? In all technicality, all of these are problems to solve. And Dungeons and Dragons improves on the problem solving skills. Not only for the students, but also for the teachers. Not only for the players, but also for the dungeon masters. For instance, how would you defeat this monster as a specific player character? Or how would your players defeat this monster? How can the players handle the corrupt king? And how do I make sure as a teacher that the students will learn something? All of these things are problems to solve. And you can try out what the best way is for your own problem solving. And also, like I said before, you can incorporate some of the subjects in there. These problem solving skills, however, come with a little caveat that you don't know what the problem is beforehand. So another skill the students learn, and the fifth reason, by the way, is that they learn to improvise. How do you work with surprising situations where you don't know what happens after this? How do you defeat this monster which seems impossible? How do you solve this equation if you only know some of the formulae without a calculator, for instance? All of these problems require improvisation. Dungeons and Dragons has two advantages in this point. First, it is played in a safe space where only the characters are in the center and the players are not. And second, the students are allowed to work with everything in this world you are building with the players. Dungeons and Dragons in itself is about writing a story on the fly. For instance, you are the dungeon master and you are showing them the monster they have to kill. However, they are trying to befriend it by offering some food. How do you handle this? Dungeons & Dragons offers the possibility to not only have one solution, but having an infinite amount of them. This also means that you as a Dungeon Master and also as the player improvise on multiple situations. And most of the time these improvisations work so good together because the team works so good together. Like the famous saying, teamwork makes the dream work. The sixth point is all about solving all the problems together and being successful together. Dungeons & Dragons is a game where all of the characters have their strengths and their weaknesses. For instance, the barbarian can punch anything in their way, however they are not so good in social situations or in exploration. The ranger, on the other hand, is a great explorer, and the bard can talk everything out of the dangerous situation. Dungeons & Dragons is all about teamwork. Solving problems together only works because everyone knows their role and everyone knows how to work with it. Dungeons & Dragons requires a build-up of trust. How can you play D&D if you can't trust your partner on your left or on the right side? This is the main point why Dungeons & Dragons works so good in a teamwork environment, because only together you can beat this gigantic monster. Only together you can defeat the evil king. Only together you can be heroes. And this is the main point why D&D is so good about teamwork. And via teamwork, you can also learn about yourself. Dungeons & Dragons is a great tool about identity development, where you have to find out what way you want to go, what path you want to choose, and what kind of person you want to be. Sure, you can play the most evil character imaginable, someone who is bloodthirsty or someone who is just an evil douche or something like this. But there's always the part where you realize, okay, I'll never want to be like this. Or on the other hand, you realize that you also may be possible to do this. Maybe not in the bloodthirsty part, but maybe if you steal the lolly from a child or something like this. Dungeons & Dragons shows you what your character is capable of, and it's also some sort of reflection of yourself. So you can improve on yourself, you can check on yourself, you can realize for yourself what you want to be or what not. And this is also something you can do as a player and a dungeon master. And by realizing and understanding your own identity, you can also understand your own flaws and accept them so much easier. And this sort of acceptance also improves your own mental health. Point number 8, by the way. Dungeons & Dragons has often been used by therapeutical and psychological workers to help their patients, in fact. And I know it kinda sounds weird, but some people got a purpose in life because they were playing Dungeons & Dragons. They were facing challenges in this role-playing game and have realized for themselves that they can also face other challenges in their own life. Dungeons & Dragons is also good in treating people who suffer from depression or anxiety, because it gives them purpose, it gives them something they go on, it gives them a goal. And goals are something important in life that you should never underestimate. Dungeons & Dragons also helps in the expression of problems, and it helps you to solve these problems a little bit easier. And finally, Dungeons & Dragons, because of its simulated character, by using simulations as a play, gives you the confidence to talk about something or to speak with the person you like or something like this. It gives you the security to do something. Also, Dungeons & Dragons is scheduled fun, and it helps you to create some core memories, which in some cases you even remember for your whole life. And by all of these factors you can also improve your own social skills. Dungeons & Dragons is, like I said, a simulation game, where you can simulate situations and try out what you want to do with them. Do you know why PowerPoint presenters or drama actors are so confident in their skills? It is all because of their training. Dungeons & Dragons offers these situations to give you some training with soft skills. So by role-playing the simulated situations, you can try out what you would do in a social encounter, for instance. And as Dungeons & Dragons is about role-playing, it is also an escape from everyday life. If you're suffering from some problems in your private life, like for instance sickness, or maybe about the sorrows about the family member, then Dungeons and Dragons helps you in this case because it makes you create a new world. All of this is outside and you can look at yourself. Dungeons and Dragons gives you the possibility to be a hero in your own life, and it helps you making some achievements which are important for yourself. For instance, you are growing, you are getting level ups, you are fighting stronger and stronger and stronger monsters, which also can be a metaphor for your own problems. And if the private life doesn't work out for you, you have also the possibility to be the great hero in your own fantasy. This again regains confidence and makes you safer, makes you feel better, makes you in fact a little bit happier. And with these thoughts I finish my little Dungeons and Dragons 6 course. I think Dungeons and Dragons belongs to schools because it makes feel the students better and it makes them into better persons. If you also think this, that's great, and I can't wait to see your beautiful campaigns in Dungeons and Dragons. Your Computer Wunsan.